students in that building felt. You know, we are friends with other families, of course, and I will never forget the day that I walked in on him and another kiddo of his peer group discussing their third grade teacher, and they were not ranking him very well. And it wasn't the usual kid stuff. It was pain. It was, they have suffered with bad teaching. And it's not that this person is a bad person, because I genuinely can see that this person has been trying to grow. He's been trying to become more, but that damage is already done with those students he's handled.
Right.
You know, the damage is done, and he will never be seen in a good light by them. And I don't want any of our district teachers to be left in our students' memories in such negative light. We have to be better.
Great. That's very good. You've got great insights. Eric, I've started the recording, by the way. Erica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm a little late. I was en route to get here and I didn't want to miss the meeting. So I'm Erica Saunders, for those of you who may not know my name. I'm one of the 2 special education compliance coordinators, new to the district and Vermont as a whole, as of I moved here mid-June. I think it was the 17th to be exact, and started with the district on the 1st. So I'm thrilled to be here. I have a special education background, taught for, I've had it earlier, about 2 weeks ago, how long it's been, something like 17 years, raised by a special educator, and really excited to say I have my national board certification in special ed. So it's near and dear to my heart, and you know, hearing what you were saying, Kelly, and what apparently has been said, the thought that any young person, any child, you know, is left with that kind of mark with their teachers is a hurtful thing to hear as a educator myself. It's okay, you're not always going to connect and, you know, and have the best, the connection of you know, a lifetime with everyone, but you certainly shouldn't leave feeling harmed.
Right.
You know, you can leave feeling like, they didn't really understand me, I didn't really like that guy, you know, but you don't want to leave feeling, you know, feeling scarred from that, and that hurts my soul. So hi everyone, I'm so glad that I could join.
Well, we're glad to have you here. And Kelly, I'm so excited that Phineas is interested in affinity circles, because that's been something that I want to launch soon too, and I will keep him in mind as we go forward. That's really great. So for those people who are watching this recording, we've spent some time in colleagueship, which was not recorded, but that we are now recording. And I'm going to launch our agenda. We're a little bit behind, but you know what? I think that time was very well spent and important as well. So I'm sharing my screen right now, and you should be seeing the agenda. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
Oh, I always love it when it works well, you know, it happens occasionally. So the mission statement we talked about last time we met last month was one that I had taken from another school district out of state, and we wordsmithed it a little bit. And I don't want to belabor the wordsmithing too much, but words are meaning. I continue to suggest that people take a look at this when they can. It's on the agenda, and I know that I shared the agenda last month. It's the same same rolling agenda every month, which means that the current month one will be ahead of the previous month. Let me just go right back to that for 1 second so you can see what I mean. If it lets me do that without messing up. Nope. Darn it. There it is. Nope. Okay, here we go. So the agenda from last month is underneath it. You see what I mean? It's underneath in the bottom. And if you don't have access to this, because I was not able to send out an email reminder as I had intended this week, unfortunately, I didn't get any assistance with that, but I will make sure it happens next month. You let me know and I can give you a link to the agenda. That's important. The mission statement, as I said before, is here. And one of the things that we wanted to take out was changing the word special needs to disabilities, which I have done. I added language that mentioned that this group was intended to support families through parental and teacher support groups. monthly meetings, resources, and workshops for all stakeholders. And the idea being is that teachers are our partners in going forward. Our presence, well, I'll start from the beginning. Our mission, the Burlington School District Parent Connection, is to provide information to our families and the community relative to all matters concerning education for our district's children with disabilities. We support families through parental and teacher support groups, monthly meetings, resources, and workshops for all stakeholders. Our presence serves to educate the community about the uniqueness of children with disabilities and to encourage understanding, respect, and acceptance of these children. We strive to foster open communication between the district administration, teachers, and our special education families. We advocate for the learning and functional support that children with disabilities require in order for them to receive the education they deserve. So I added, as I said, I've made some changes based on the notes below. Is there anything else people see that jumps out at them right now that we might want to tweak, or is this looking better?
Laura, I think it looks great. One, not being familiar with all the drafts, and again, I don't want to belabor it. Just when you say we support families through parental and teacher supports, I don't know how to change that word, but just to make sure that we're inclusive of all types of families, so that, you know, if someone's with a grandparent or a foster parent or a, you know, or
caregiver used a lot.
Yeah.
Parental may be what's used, but I just want to make sure we you know, make sure that we're not excluding people who aren't in that traditional kind of parental situation.
How about this? We support all kinds of families, all types of families, all types, do you think?
Just all families.
All families. There you go. Through,
We don't need fancy words here.
yeah, sometimes less is more, you know, through guardian, parent, and teacher. Do you think guardian/parent, or is guardian by itself enough?
I like the slash, but that's just.
I kind of think the word caregiver might be better than guardian, because guardian has like legal connotation, whereas caregiver does not necessarily.
That's a good point.
I like that. Caregiver. It sounds less sterile too, if you know what I mean. Guardian.
Yeah, and less judgment, less legal. The intention isn't to be legal. Okay, caregiver support groups monthly. Okay. And honestly, this is, you know, this can be a thing that we're building. I don't want to spend a year just figuring out what we are standing for. You know what I mean? I think we can continue to develop this, and I think it's important because language has meaning. But at the same time, I don't want the crafting of this to stop us from moving forward. So please do feel free to, you know, what I like to do when I go into a document so that people know that I'm editing is to go down to suggesting. And then it means that it would, if I wanted to say, like, instead of putting our, I can put in a different word and it would cross that out. Just, you see, those of you who can see it, can you see what I mean?
Yes.
And that way other people know what we're talking about. I don't know, Amanda, if you, and Kathleen, if you can see it or not, but hopefully you're able to. Okay, so I was trying to keep a list of.
Yes, I can see.
Okay, great. All right, come on. There we go. All righty. So, and just to catch us up a little bit, and please slow me down if I go too fast, because I don't want to go too fast. But I also want people not to feel like I'm overstepping time, because I know your time is valuable. So the parent-peer mentoring discussion that we had last month, I think is an important thing for us to look at. And Vermont Family Network, I reached out to them, and they said they have a training that essentially what it means is that they train the mentor, and then the mentor is then matched with an appropriate person, and they have conversations like 3 to 4 times. It's not an ongoing commitment. It's not a forever thing, which I think, you know, given how busy people are, that might be very appealing to people, not to have a permanent commitment. It's, you know, finite. And they can always, you know, go back into it. And I'm wondering if we want to form a subgroup and if we're already kind of a subgroup because there's only 5 of us, but I wonder if we want to form some type of subgroup to decide a few things. I'm thinking, like, for example, the Vermont Family Network, I'd like to connect with them a little more to see if there's anything we can do in concert with them rather than trying to reinvent or even just replicate what they're doing. and then try to figure out a launch date. What do people think about those ideas?
I think it's great. I've gone through their training to be a supporting parent. And I am a supporting parent. I get matched regularly with families, I guess is the right way of saying it. And that is one of the features that is great, is that they do recommend that you speak 3 to 5 times by phone. Yeah, it's not a commitment. And if you find that you get matched either with a supporting parent or a parent that needs support that you just don't connect with, or you have differing philosophies around disability or around their situation, it's very amicable. Like, hey, I don't think this is working. Let's go back to, so and so, and see if they can match you up with somebody else or match me up with somebody else. And it's very helpful for both sides, honestly.
Okay.
I'm definitely a fan of not reinventing the wheel, and if someone or some organization has something already established, that we can benefit from, I think that's a fabulous idea. The launch date you mentioned, I don't want to rush things, but there is something about the beginning of the year to kind of feel like, bringing in a new year and kind of beginning something that doesn't give much time, but there's at least a thought to reach for, and if it needs to be pushed back a little bit, that's understandable. But it would be nice if we could kind of ring in the new year with some with this initiative, if there's time.
That sounds great. Let's see here.
Maybe Vermont Family Network could help us with trainings, or maybe the training that they do. And then when, like when Kelly said that she gets matched with other families, maybe they could help us figure out how to get Burlington School District families matched with Burlington School District families. Yeah. Because I know that when I'm looking for help for something, often stuff is done differently in different districts, and what may work in Essex doesn't work in Burlington, and what one student gets for services in Colchester may not be what someone gets in Burlington. So I think that might be helpful, and maybe we could work, because I don't know how you could very quickly come up with some kind of training, get a group of parents and all of that within just a few months. Like, it seems like a whole lot of work. And maybe they could help us just to set something up.
Right, because I think the first step would have to be like almost an all call to families, of, hey, if you feel like you've successfully parented through the school district, would you want to be in a pool of parents that just offer ear or advice or guidance in navigating the school system?
I wonder if they could do a training, like sort of not in place of this meeting, but sort of like just through, Zoom or whatever format, to train the people in this group that are interested as like a partially guinea pig for people who haven't had that training and who would like to be partnered up with people and like mentors, but also so that we're all working with the same set of skills, and like it can maybe just like, if a bunch of us train in the Burlington School District trained at once, like we already have like, okay, here's the like start of this sect. Because I like that idea too. I think that the services and help varies across, like Catherine said.
I think that's a great point, because Burlington with its size too is kind of different from the other districts from what I understand. And I don't want to exclude anyone, but I wonder too, with the limited time, if what we do kick off is a little bit of a pilot program and kind of even say, hey, we really want to launch this big at the beginning of the next school year and need to get ourselves, set up for that, and almost have a little bit of a pilot program, like you were saying, with them, helping us and maybe getting a few things of whatever resources we have able to be matched, over this year, almost as a as a guinea pig or a pilot, so that when we launch it in the new school year, we're really have got some of the kinks worked out, and they're able to work within the Burlington district to open it up to, you know, to folks, and really have our our stuff together. Sorry, I had that one word stuck in my head and I didn't want to use it, so I couldn't turn it in. I'm so sorry. I was but yes, our stuff together, and the only reason I didn't want to say next school year, just because sometimes that pushes things so far off,
Yeah.
you know, that we lose the momentum. So like I said, maybe a small even pilot where it's put out, hey, we're looking for, you know, 3 to 5 families that might be interested in this, or something like that, based on the group that's here.
Yeah.
Right. I would love it if we reached out to the liaisons so that they could reach out, or even just make suggestions of, oh, I know the perfect family that has this and can be super supportive to someone new to the community. Because I want to make sure that, you know, we're being as intersectional as possible and reaching as many of our community as we can.
So that's an interesting point. You know, one of the things that I've asked, we'll just give you a short overview. Miriam Edisham Kading is our EL director. And you know, I find that there are some complications, some challenges, and Almena, let me know if I'm saying this wrong, because I know you work with that group. One of the things I want to do is to create a training for our multicultural liaisons about special ed, so they're not to give them a pretty solid background, so they're not having to translate language and culture and special ed all at one time. So there's that part. I want to also launch a regular meeting like this one for the EL population, and to make it for them, because I feel that sometimes our dominant culture overshadows our ELs when we blend them. And I know that may not sound as friendly as I'd like it to. In a perfect world, we'd all do it together, but I don't know that would be fair to our English learning families.
Well, that's perfect, because I remember when I, became a district parent, how confusing it was for me, especially the special ed part. And coming from different cultures and different backgrounds, like people don't understand what things mean. So training liaisons so they have a solid foundation, so they can explain to parents what is being proposed and what's being done, instead of just interpreting the words.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Because it's just more complicated than that. And we know that our EL population is under-identified. I think that's a given, even though we have a pretty high identification in our district. So this looks good, and if everybody agrees, I've already started reaching out to VFN, so, and I love them anyway, and I'm happy to reach out to ask them specific questions about next steps. And I welcome anyone who wants to join in that conversation, but I'm very happy to begin that conversation, or continue the conversation with them tomorrow. Thoughts?
I think it's great, Laura, for you to continue that conversation, and really, if you have that relationship and to be able to bring them on board, I think it's wonderful. Thank you so much. Please forgive me if I don't quite see your name. Who, Almina? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Almina, yes.
Almina, I apologize. Thank you for correcting me, Almina. Thank you so much for speaking up of what it is like to be a parent who's dealing with lots of multiple things, including culture and language and understanding of that. Thank you. I think that's an important thing, and I would love to see either through the peer mentoring, or even just as this group grows, even building these infinity spaces for not only our EL population, our African American population, all groups that are sort of underrepresented, may feel that need to kind of support each other too, as well as the bigger group. So not sort of instead of, but a complement to, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Just to be comfortable, to be more comfortable, and to be for folks to understand your situation a bit more, so that you're not having to explain those things at the beginning of the meeting, just to instantly feel more comfortable. I think that feels great to be able to offer that to folks. I think also that, or I know that there are also a lot of families and folks who are already informally offering this to people in the community. I know that I have a couple Burlington School District families who maybe have, there's one who she's been amazing, and her daughters have both graduated, but she's someone who I can always email and she'll always answer my questions. So, and I've also, I've had folks come to me to help them know how to navigate systems. So I think there are a lot of people who are already doing this work in our district. And I think it would be great if we could figure out a way to pull those people in.
Agreed. People are already working that way. Yeah, absolutely. I know that VFN was interested in making sure there was a consistency in terms of support. And so providing some professional development would be useful in that way. That being said, we certainly don't want to stifle anything that's already good that's happening in the community. We want to, to support that and grow it. That's wonderful. And so, Kathleen, if you could, if you feel that that's appropriate, if you could share these monthly meetings with them, I mean, in the sense that let them know we're meeting and that they're welcome, even if they don't have kids currently in the district, we welcome them. So if that's appropriate.
Yep, I will, if I remember, if you send out invites, I will forward them.
Great. So you know what, that's actually a great idea. I can send the people who are coming, I can send you an actual invitation via email. And I think that's what I'll do, because I'm a little frustrated that I couldn't get a school messenger message sent out for this meeting, and we haven't had a robocall. We're going to do better in terms of getting the message out. And I know, thankfully, I've got Kelly helping me out with that as well. But as much word of mouth as we can do, I greatly appreciate. So let's jump on to the next topic. We have about 15 minutes left in this meeting, and I want to make sure I respect your time, as I said before. I so value these conversations. Our next topic is how special education has been impacted during COVID. Successes and challenges. I'd love to hear some successes too. That's somewhat self-serving, but really I'd love to hear anything good as well. I will say that some things have worked better than others. I will share too, and before I promise I'll stop talking, is that special education has not changed. The requirements under IDEA have not changed. That would take a literal act of Congress. They always say that, but in this case, it's absolutely true. But IDEA also wasn't built for this situation either. It was never intended for a pandemic. So please feel free to share stories about your experience with special ed and COVID, and ideas about how we can improve it and what's working well.
I have to give a shout out to my son's special educator. The woman spent 17 minutes on a Google Meets with him the other day just to help him get through his geometry homework. So it's been hard otherwise for my son, but having this particular special educator, she's going like way beyond her job duties, has been really helpful. Mm-hmm. So I think having the right supports, from the right people makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. If you don't mind, I'm sorry, I just want to say, if you don't mind sharing who that person is with me via email, Almina, so I can give her some positive feedback, him or her some positive feedback, I'd appreciate it.
I think remote learning has been kind of a good thing for my child. While it's stressful for our family and while it does create more power struggles in our household, it's given him less limits on being, accommodated time-wise and being talked through tasks differently. And sometimes that is with me, but his regular teacher, not even special ed, is like super great about meeting him where he's at. And she's doing a one-on-one meeting with him every week for half an hour or sometimes it's just a check-in, sometimes it's to work on something. And then she is also working with him to slowly add one child to a different one-on-one meeting a couple of times to build his kind of stamina for interacting with kids, because unfortunately he hasn't been with his peers really since March when everything shut down last year. And while he's usually really good one-on-one with adults, as long as he clicks with them, it's not always great with kids. And the remote special educator has also been really good at working with him and working like very much tailoring things to his interests, which was happening a little teeny tiny bit in the school building. But I think the real force for it to be one-on-one and to like really have to engage him to get him to do anything has made them be a lot more creative. And that's really nice, because I'm seeing them meet him where he's at and helping him grow skills like through things he actually cares about, and not just him shutting down and only doing it because he has to at school so he doesn't get flack and then not caring about it otherwise. So it's been positive that he's getting more independent attention and really working on his needs.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, remote has been working really, really well for our son as well. And I think it is something as simple as, you know, there's no weird smells wafting in through the hallway. There's no alarms, there's no bells, there's no awful transitions to art class that he doesn't want to be at. You know, the transition to the specials are just gone because specials are integrated into the day just organically now. You know, it's not art for art's sake, it's art because, hey, that just happens to jive with what we're doing right now. You know, he's participating in so much. Like I said, he put his name in for this committee. I don't think he would have done that if he were in the school setting. I think that his anxiety level would be so high that the last thing he wants to do is participate after school. He joined woodworking class. For those of you that can see, here he is building a stool. You know, and that's something just amazing. He joined the chess club. Again, something I can't see him doing in person, but is so successful remotely. He's produced more work, academic work, than we have seen in complete school years, you know, and he's happy about it. He sits down just ready, you know. Yes, he asks for quite a few breaks, and I realized I've gotten into, I sit down there before I get a snack, and I was like, no, we can't do this because we're going to grow out of the chairs if we have a snack every time we sit down. So let's break this habit. You know, sometimes I have to remind both children, hey, it's school, we're in school. You wouldn't just walk into so-and-so's classroom and be like, blah, 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 and turn around and leave. So we have to treat it like school. But it's amazing to see how successful he can be and how good he feels about being successful. And when he gets great feedback from something that he really, really worked hard through, and that work is noticed, he's just feeling great, you know. And I think that he does get some more individualized attention from, you know, the math teacher, from the humanities teacher, because there's so few of them that, you know, and he's kind of being a goofball, they can kind of be a goofball with him and build that rapport that they wouldn't have been able to in the classroom, because, you know, the teacher just can't be a goofball for 5 minutes in the classroom, and that's understandable. But yeah, remote is working great. The things that aren't working is, you know, it's November, we don't have a science teacher. The biggest project that we've been assigned is a science project, so it's a little challenging to not have a teacher to turn to be like, so about this project that you would like us to do, exactly what's that going to look like? That's a bit of a struggle. Learning the technology was a bit of a struggle. I have to say, I just learned how to submit in Unified Classroom an assignment. I'm feeling real good about myself. I turned in an assignment today instead of emailing it because I don't know how to submit. So yeah, I think remote is going really well, except for just like those little snafus of, oh God, we have to put together a 6th grade remote thing. toss, moving part. We forgot a science teacher.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's tricky.
I've had 3 very different experiences with all 3 of my kids. Different things worked for different ones. Now, at this point, all 3 of my kids are in school 4 days. When the shutdown started in the spring, my 6th grader actually was incredibly well supported during those months. They did such great work. They were focused. They were able to do their assignments and really feel good about participating. And then when school started back hybrid, those supports weren't there. And it was very evident that it just wasn't there. And no matter how much we asked and tried to get the right things, we just couldn't find the support for them that they needed. And they ended up actually self-advocating to go to school 4 days because they finally recognized that this really isn't working. I can't get the support that I need to be able to understand my work and not feel frustrated at home those 2 days because their teachers were teaching other kids at school. So they just weren't available. And so that was a little frustrating, just going from seeing someone so successful doing something to not, and just realizing how important those supports are for them. My middle child, my son's in 4th grade. He did almost nothing during the closure, but he met every day for an hour with a special educator through a Google Meet. It happened every day. Sometimes there were technical difficulties and we both had to call in oldest children to help us try to figure out how to make stuff work. But he got over, not wanting to talk to anyone through a screen, just shutting down when there was a screen in front of him. And now he gets excited for those meets. And he does his work when it's sent home for him, and he likes to show him what he's done. And he's been at school 4 days since the beginning of the school year. And he really did so well when everybody else was hybrid. When he only had 2 days where he really had to try to be in the classroom and follow along what everyone was doing. And then he had those 2 days where it was just him and his para, and he'd have his services, and then he and his para and usually another student who was there 4 days would just work on other things. And that flexibility and the smaller class size was so good for him. And when everybody came back 4 days and suddenly it was 4 days of having to try to do what everyone else is doing, it all fell apart. And then, so we're working on that right now. And my youngest is in 1st grade. And I have heard that this is pretty common for 1st graders, that they're just really not that interested in doing the work at home. So I don't know if it's particular to her, her learning disability or what, but she's, so now she's there 4 days, but on her Wednesdays, she does nothing. And she doesn't have any support on Wednesdays either. She's not been offered anything she's on her 3rd case manager since the beginning of the school year. So this current case manager hasn't offered any services on that Wednesday when she was having a meet on that Wednesday with her former case manager. So I think that the communication maybe isn't there, and I'm not sure. It's just, so that's been, and I don't know, I'm curious what other 1st grade parents who have children who use special education services, like what their remote days are like. But that's my 3 very different very different kids.
I, I, I don't speak from this from a parent standpoint, obviously, of having a child in the district, or I do have a child, just not in the district, and an adult now. But I will say something that I'm hearing, and it reminded me, and I'll be brief. It reminded me of something I heard in general when they're talking about COVID, that COVID has exposed, it brought to light even more the most vulnerable, you know, healthcare, with rates of death and infection and whatnot, and kind of expose the underbelly of what struggles we have in society. And I think the same can be said when it comes to COVID and school in general, but then COVID with students with disabilities, and how, you know, the most vulnerable, you know, kind of that struggle to, in a difficult situation anyway of a pandemic, you know, how do we help and support? And I'm really thankful for all of you sharing so openly, and also that there have been some, you know, some measures of success. That's a wonderful thing, but it certainly, it does expose, you know, the struggles that we have anyway.
Yeah. And you know, this is a good segue, Erica. Thank you. The segue being is that it's 5:29. I want to make sure that I'm not, as much as I'd like to keep going, honestly, I don't want to put people in a position where they feel like this is an endless meeting that goes long. But I will share with you my little brief piece that I've noticed that schools are really a reflection of the community rather than schools driving the community. There's certainly a symbiotic relationship, but we reflect every aspect that the community has. So I think that it's interesting that Kathleen, what you shared and what everybody shared here tonight. Thank you so much. Briefly, and I will stop this meeting in just a minute or two. I do want to catch quickly what worked well in this meeting today or what didn't work well. Is there anything specifically about the meeting that you would like to see change or that you thought was particularly useful today?
More notification.
Yeah, I got here because Kelly posted on Facebook the meeting information. So having like an invite or whatever, like you said, would be fantastic. I also really did like the colleague time at the beginning, because I feel like that helps us be like more of an actual community when I'm been sitting in my house for all these months. So thanks for that.
Yes, I'm also here because of Kelly's Facebook post, because I didn't remember. I missed the last one because my house was really, really loud at the time and I couldn't come. And I don't know if there's a YouTube. Apparently it was supposed to be recorded in a YouTube video, but I can't ever find it. So if someone could email me the link if it exists, that'd be fantastic.
Do that, and it does. And I'm going to show you really quickly, since I've got you right here. I can do this without taking up too much time. VT. So you're watching my screen where I'm on the district website, right? Can you see the district website, guys?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. So down here, student support services. I know it's kind of a labyrinth, right? And so this is our district website for student support services. This is actually a picture of kids in the summer program, by the way, that were on a plane. I don't know if I showed this last time. But if you go to the parent connection meeting here, and again, I know this is kind of a labyrinth of the Zoom meeting on your computer. I need to ask them to change this up, or maybe I can, to make it up. That's not it. To make it a little more easy to read, to see. But
I think it was that first link. You just couldn't get into it because you're in it.
oh, that could be what it is.
Yeah,
Because
that's how
the
I
link I clicked.
So
yeah, that's how I found this. Kelly told me how to find it. So that's where I found it. But
the
is there a recording?
Yeah, the recording. Yep, here it is.
Okay.
This is it. Yeah, this is it right here.
Okay.
Or something like that. I'm going to try to make it more clear. I think that's something I need to do, is to figure out. So it jumps out a little bit
Yeah.
because it doesn't feel like it does. I mean, it's also recorded and shared on YouTube channel. So it's definitely, you know, you can probably find it there, but I'd like it to be a little easier to get to.
Yeah.
So I will add that to our notes. That being said, it's 5:33 rather. I want to make sure, as I said, make sure I respect your time. I am so appreciative of your coming tonight. I know you're all busy. Please invite everyone you can think of if you wish. I will send you all an invitation for next month, so you have something to hold on to do that with. And we're going to do better getting the news out.
Could you also tell the PTOs?
Yeah, what a great idea. Why didn't I think of
You
that?
tell the PTOs at each school. I mean, they don't have a full email list. I mean, also telling the principals. I know that Joe would probably put something in the Blue Note at Champlain. I'm sure he'd be happy to do that if he knew.
I feel like the principals did know, but there's,
Maybe just a reminder, hey, could you stick,
Yeah.
this is happening next week.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you've got lots of stuff to do too, but.
No, that's okay. No, this is important to me. This is my job, right? So I can definitely tell the principals again. And I feel like we did tell them, but that doesn't mean, I've been a teacher long enough that if you tell 25 people something 25 times, you need to say it a couple more times.
Yeah, and telling the PTOs as well will help.
That's a
I
really
know Champlain's PTO is really, really good at sending out information to people.
brilliant. I love that idea. Thank you so much. So you will hear from me very soon. And thank you so much for your time, and be well.
Bye.